I recently picked up this black watercolor paper from my local art store, and I've been having fun experimenting with it. As watercolor artists, we're trained to use the white of the paper for our highlights, and we learn to build up a painting from light to dark. Watercolors are mostly transparent, which makes this possible, and it's what sets them apart from other media. But this paper flips this style of thinking right on its head, and instead you're building up the light parts of the painting and letting the shadows peek through, working from dark to light, and it definitely takes some getting used to. This paper was so much fun to work with, and here's what you need to know to get started. The paper I used is Stonehenge Aqua Black Watercolor paper made by Legion Paper. It's a great quality, it's 100% cotton, acid-free, and cold press. This paper works best with opaque watercolors, gouache, and metallic watercolors. I started out by swatching out the colors I had in my studio, starting with this metallic set from Derwent. Shimmery colors show up beautifully on this paper. For black watercolor paper, you'll want colors that are semi-transparent or opaque. Watercolors are generally considered to be transparent, but not all watercolors are created equal. Different colors are made up of different pigments, which each have their own properties. Some colors are more transparent and some are more opaque. Colors such as yellow ochre and cobalt teal are examples of colors that are more opaque. You can find information about the specific qualities of your watercolors on their brand's websites. Colors are often made up of more than one pigment, and colors that contain white pigments in them are often more opaque. Think about soft pastel colors that you might have in your palette already. You can find out if there's a white pigment in your paint by checking your paint's pigment number. These are found on the brand's website, but they're often labeled right on the tubes. Look for colors that start with a PW, P for pigment, W for white. For example, my tube of Horizon Blue from Holbein contains PB15, PG7, and PW6. This tells me it's made up of blue, green, and white pigments, and as you can see, it shows up beautifully on the paper. The easiest way to see if your colors will work on black watercolor paper is to break them out and start testing them like this. You can also try using gouache. Gouache is an opaque watercolor, and if you love these effects, you should definitely try it. You can even mix it with your regular watercolors to make them more opaque. I love Holbein's Artist Gouache, and I use their permanent white gouache often. It's great to have in the studio anyways to reclaim and add highlights to paintings on white paper as well. So what techniques work best with this paper? I've tried wet and wet on dry, and from what I can see, most techniques will work on this paper. It does take some getting used to, and you really have to saturate your colors. They tend to build up a bit on top of the paper, so paintings with many glazes might be more of a challenge. So far I find that it's best for simple, stylistic paintings like the gold flowers I painted at the beginning of this video. So I'd love to hear if you've tried black watercolor paper, and I'd love to know what colors you love using with it. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and definitely subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Happy painting!